everybody. My name is Aaron Price Jr., and I'm a student here at Cal Poly. And I'm assuming that everyone here is students, correct? Is this true?
Yep.
Or has been a student at some point. So how do you guys feel about the A through F grading system? Thoughts, opinions at all? Do you guys believe it's helpful? Do you guys believe it's stressful? Can I get some general opinions?
I think it's stressful.
I agree, and that's probably the main topic I'm coming here to talk about, is why I believe that the A through F grading system is not very helpful towards students' growth. I believe that the A through F grading system brings a lot of unneeded pressure upon students. It really does stunt their creativity, and additionally, it creates a more watered down and superficial version of what learning is supposed to be. And because of this, I do believe that it's important that we do take a look into how we can possibly combat that, or how we can possibly change the A through F grading system to make it more useful in preparing students for real life situations. And so in order for us to understand why the A through F grading system is so flawed in the first place, I believe it's important for us to understand what is the purpose of school, what is the purpose of assignments, and what is the purpose of tests in the first place. Well, first things first, the purpose of school is to prepare students for real life situations, prepare you for the workforce, prepare you to interact with your peers, prepare you to interact with all types of different aspects of life. So granted, school does this by putting you in positions where you have to use skills like critical thinking or cooperation with peers, or various other skills that are only developed when you're put into situations that school puts you through, whether that be testing, whether that be assignments, whether that be dealing with teachers, or whether that be conflict in the classroom or playground, or however that goes. These are natural parts of life that you naturally learn through school, and you learn skills like problem solving and critical thinking as a result of that, and that's very important. Another primary objective of school is for students to learn skills aside from just critical thinking and things that you use in a more general sense, but to actually specialize and refine your skills and utilize creativity in order to make things conducive to the workforce once you move on in life. And so people benefit society through their inventions or through their actions and through things that they learn in school, and they take that and use their creativity on top of the knowledge that they gain from school in order to go ahead and create things that help benefit society later on. And so now that we understand the objective of school, I believe that the A through F grading system is very, very harmful to the primary objectives of school because of the fact that it stunts creativity, it provides a lot of unneeded pressure on students, and again, it creates a superficial version of learning. And so first things first, we'll tackle superficial learning. Students are forced to be put in this position where you're memorizing and repeating information instead of learning the process that it takes in order to actually understand concepts that you're being taught in school. So how many times have you been put in a position where you learn the process that it takes to solve, let's say, an algebra problem, and then moments after you take the test, you can't recall any of the information you used to solve the actual problem? This is a very real thing that happens on a day-to-day basis for most students, and it's not really restricted to just algebra alone, but it's more of classes just as a whole. And school encourages this, unfortunately, because of the fact that once a test is over, you're not really required to pull information back out and reutilize it at all in order to move on to the next topic, unless that is what your major calls for. But college in and of itself is a completely different set of rules. Okay, and next up, another way that the A through F grading system is harmful to students is it harms your creativity. How many times have you been taking a test and the teacher docks you points because you may have gotten the right answer, however, the process that you used to get there was incorrect or didn't match up with what the teacher wanted you to do? Well, this is harmful to students' creativity because it unfortunately discourages students from taking risks in challenging the status quo, in challenging society's regular ways of thinking, and to see if it can create a more shortened version or a more effective version of the same process. And unfortunately, this is very common because of the fact that students don't want to harm their grade, because end of the day, your grade, some students view this as a sign of their intelligence, or some students view it as a sign of how well they're doing as a person. And unfortunately, this does play a huge toll on their mental health, which allows me to transition to my next point. The A through F grading system creates a lot of unneeded pressure on students. Again, your grade for most students really does interpret your intelligence, but this is only a mental thing. It really doesn't, because end of the day, your intelligence really can't be quantified by just a letter on your report card. However, a lot of students don't view it that way. Two students can receive the same grade and have two completely different outlooks on it, depending on the type of student that you are, depending on how you look at it. Two students can receive a B in a class. One student, because they didn't get an A, they view themselves as a failure, or they're struggling. Or a student who doesn't often do that well, who got a B, may even have false confidence because of the fact that they had somehow gotten a B and they don't actually understand the concepts that were necessary in order to get there. The A through F grading system is very subjective, and it is very it is very dependent on what the teacher views as acceptable and what the teacher views as not acceptable. And unfortunately, in real life, a lot of the time, this is not the case. End of the day, it's not really about, oh yeah, did I get the answer correct on a sheet of paper? Rather, do I understand the process and the concepts that it takes to get there? And so, in order to challenge how we go about school, and in order to make it much more effective for other students, and to make it better for our next generation of growing workers and people who are going to invent things and do things to benefit society, we do really need to look into how to change the school system. And so, a few suggestions are that we switch school in order from an A through F grading system, rather to a more self-reflective or peer-reviewed or even a performance-based set of tasks for people to understand. In the real world, you're going to interact with your peers very often, and you learn cooperation and you learn how to interact with people based off of that. Group projects are something that are very frequent in school, and so you learn to interact with your peers. However, it doesn't need to just be limited to that. Even just comparing processes, comparing answers, comparing notes, these are things that are very helpful for students, because end of the day, you're comparing things to people who are in the same position as you. And so it's almost a community type of benefit, because each of you is sharing bits and pieces of what you know to build a bigger picture. Also, school could be benefited if it was more self-reflective. How many times have you looked at a test and immediately after you've seen the marks and the errors, you were like, I know what to do to fix that. I know what to do to improve next time. However, sometimes it might even be more beneficial for you to go back and even see if you can identify and fix those mistakes on your own. This allows students to recognize problems and utilize that ability to do so on their own, instead of relying on other people to tell them what the issue is. If you're able to recognize what problems are on your own, then this allows you to ultimately create more effective solutions, because of the fact that you're the one who identified the issue in your problem solving. And lastly, performance-based assessments and performance-based projects could be very beneficial to students, because of the fact that, end of the day, in life, it's going to be a lot of performance-based stuff. You're going to be judged based off of your experiences, based off of what you know, based off of your understanding of concepts. And so if you're put in positions where you need to perform in order to get, in this case, a good grade, if you're put in positions where you need to perform to do so, then it's almost simulative of what you go through on a day-to-day basis in the workforce, or what you go through on a day-to-day basis in real life. When you work for a tech company, it's important that you need to be able to perform in order to fix someone's computer, if that's what your job is. Or if you're in the surgery field, you need to understand how to perform and do open heart surgery correctly in order to understand how to do it. You don't just go in there without any prior experiences or without any understanding of how to do so and just waltz in and try, because at the end of the day, this can be very harmful to people. And so by doing performance-based assessments in school, you're putting people in a simulation of what real life could be afterward. And so this is why it can be very helpful to switch the A through F grading system into something that's more, something that's less watered down, into something that's less pressure, into something that's more beneficial, like a performance-based or like a self-reflective or peer review type of school system. And so in conclusion, I do believe that the A through F grading system is not perfect. There are a lot of things that need to be changed about it in order for students to benefit from their education, in order for students to continue throughout school and do it more effectively than we've done it in years past. The school system has not changed since it first began. And so in order for us to make a change, we do need to attack these symptoms of students are learning things superficially in a watered down sense, in more of a memorize and repeat instead of a understand concepts and apply. We do need to tackle the fact that grades are more of a pressure towards students and can ruin someone's mental health, because of the fact that a letter on a page may, in their mind, determine their intelligence or determine how smart they are. And lastly, we do also need to attack the fact that schools are ruining the overall objective of what going to school is meant to do in the first place, and that's to prepare you for real life situations. And so they stunt your creativity by doing so. And so essentially, by tweaking the A through F grading system, it really could help benefit the next group of students and the next group of workers.